From the New Arts and Media Studios in River West, the greatest neighborhood in the world here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, I'm Charles Purcell. This is The Log. And I'm feeling very inadequate today. I'm having a crisis of confidence. An inferiority complex has infiltrated my soul. There have been stories lately about NFTs. N as in Nancy, F as in Frank, T as in tall boy. Do you know what an NFT is? Do I need to explain this to you? Well, you came to the wrong guy. I'll try. I can tell you that it stands for non-fungible token. Let me read to you because there's no way I could do this by myself. Let me give credit. BBC News. What are NFTs and why are some worth millions? NFT stands for non-fungible token. In economics, a fungible asset is something with units that can be readily interchanged, like money. With money, you can swap a 10-pound note for two 5-pound notes, and it will have the same value. However, if something is non-fungible, this is impossible. It means it has unique properties, so it cannot be interchanged with something else. It could be a house or a painting, such as the Mona Lisa, which is one of a kind. You can take a photo of the painting or buy a print, but there will only ever be the one original painting. NFTs are one-of-a-kind assets in the digital world that can be bought and sold like any other piece of property, but they have no tangible form of their own. The digital tokens can be thought of as certificates of ownership for virtual or physical assets. Okay, this is good. I hope you're getting this better than I am so far. Let me continue for a little while. How do NFTs work? Traditional works of art, such as paintings, are valuable because they are one of a kind, but digital files can be easily and endlessly duplicated. With NFTs, artwork can be tokenized to create a digital certificate of ownership that can be bought and sold. As with cryptocurrency, a record of who owns what is stored on a shared ledger known as the blockchain. The records cannot be forged because the ledger is maintained by thousands of computers around the world. NFTs can also contain smart contracts that may give the artist, for example, a cut of any future sale of the token. So at this point, I guarantee you understand this better than I do. Hence my crisis of confidence. I came across this and other stories over the weekend because an NFT artwork sold at auction for $69 million. And again, this is a digital piece of art that can be reproduced infinitely. But this certificate of ownership sort of just declares that this one person is the sole owner for $69 million. And the other story I saw was something called NBA Top Shot. This is National Basketball Association, where they're using the NFT format to sell game highlights. So here's a 30-second clip of Giannis Antetokounmpo stealing the ball on the defensive end, going full length of the court for a patented Giannis dunk, posterizing, of course, one of his opponents. So there again, the very same clip, seen millions of times on YouTube. Anybody can watch it. Anybody can make a copy. Anybody can download it. But there's only one owner, the person who bought the adjacent NFT. And these things are selling like hotcakes for big money. They've only been around for a short time, but they've already become this really important collectible. So think of them like baseball cards. Yeah, you could take a picture of a baseball card, you could reproduce it, but that one single baseball card, because of its limited quantity, has collectible value. So they've taken this idea into the digital world, and the NBA will get not just a card of a player, but a little video clip, and they will authorize maybe just one copy of this thing, or 10 or 100 or 1,000. Like, when baseball cards came out, they made more than one, obviously, but it was a limited edition. You got that year's baseball card from Topps or wherever. And as the years went by, a lot of them wound up lost or in the garbage, or someone's mother carelessly put them in the Goodwill box or something. So over time, they become fewer in number and greater in quality. I mean, that's not too complicated. I think we all understand that, even me. So they're collectibles. So with the NFT format now, okay, let's authorize 100 copies of this clip, sell them, and now they're on the open market, just like a baseball card. And I keep going back to that analogy because it's the closest and the easiest. The owner can do with it what they will. They can keep it just for the joy of ownership. They can watch it go up in value as an investment. They can choose to sell it, and there will be buyers. So this is a thing that's happening. And as much as I'd like to be the guy who just takes joy in new, novel things, and I do, I like novel ideas, but as Popeye said, I am who I am. Oh no, the burning bush said that. I am that I am. This really sticks in my craw. Because this is real money exchanging hands here. $69 million for that piece of art. People are paying up in the thousands, the tens of thousands, literally, for these short highlight clips from the NBA. Because they're released as a limited item. They are collectibles as soon as they hit the market. People know this, and this is the game they play. But I feel compelled to remind you, money doesn't come out of thin air. Wealth is built through labor. This is what Marx got exactly right. Sure, you can print money. Sure, you can create all of these weird financial products where you can make money from your money. You can buy and sell, and you can break them up, and you can sell debt. And there's this huge Rube Goldberg world that we all live in. The 2008-2009 financial crash brought that home for everybody. But wealth itself, when you get right down to it, all of those Rube Goldberg maneuvers aren't creating the wealth. They're just moving it around. They're moving it from one person to another. The origin of that wealth comes from the resources of Mother Earth and the labor of flesh and blood, men and women, to produce goods. Without labor, there is no wealth. It doesn't exist. Anyone who makes money from their money is riding on the backs of those men and women, on the sweat and the blood of their labor. I have friends who'll tell me about their latest investment or about how they're saving for a house and they'll be able to make it pretty well if they just rent one of the rooms. And they got all these wonderful sort of intricate plans about how they can get their money to make money. And I put on a happy face because I'm their friend. I say, hey, that sounds great. Good for you. If I were a different person, if I had more courage in my personal relationships, which I don't, I'll say anything here on the podcast. And if my friends are listening, maybe they'll make the connection, maybe they won't. But what I should say to that friend is, somebody had to earn that money. Somebody had to create that wealth with their labor. For you to try to maneuver your money to make more money is the very definition of exploitation. It's immoral. Some ancient religions considered it a sin, making money without working. But no, I don't say these things. I don't say these things to friends. It's not my place. I save it for you guys. I save it for right here. But it's the truth, and I believe it with all my heart. One could rationalize all they want about how, well, my investment makes this work possible in the first place. It's only right that I get my cut. I invested in this widget factory, and the more widgets produced by the workers, well, the more I should get my cut back. I invested. Without me, there'd be no factory. Without me, there'd be no widgets. So why shouldn't I take my cut? Well, that sounds like a pretty convincing argument, doesn't it? The problem is it makes a couple of assumptions right off the bat. It assumes that without your money as an investor, this widget factory couldn't have been built, couldn't be maintained, couldn't buy new equipment, aka means of production. But that's not a fact handed down from God. That's a system created by men. How do you suppose anything got done before that particular system was invented by men? Well, I don't want to go down the whole story here of the history of economics, but we know that pre-capitalist times were vassals and lords and serfs and apprentices and kings and queens. There were all sorts of ways to extract value from the earth, to coerce or exploit part of the population for labor. For quite a long time, it was slave labor. So there's always been a way, unless you go all the way back to early indigenous cultures that didn't bother with all of that. Their lack of modern sophistication allowed for a more earthbound understanding that we all relied on each other for the labor to find the food, to fashion clothing, to build housing. So am I yearning for a return to prehistoric indigenous culture? Well, in a way, yes, but hold on. I guess all I'm saying is we can certainly learn from that culture, from that original culture. And whatever we do moving forward will indeed cast off the shackles of our current system. That's just the natural order of things that's happened as long as we've been crawling around on the planet. There's nothing revolutionary about this statement. It's just in the cards. Systems change, they evolve. Some systems are jettisoned completely. And just as, for the most part, we have jettisoned slavery, we've jettisoned the relationship between kings and serfs, we'll certainly jettison the more unsavory elements of our current economic system, where the annual income of CEOs is hundreds of times more than the workers, where governments exist to protect the rights of owners over the rights of workers, where capital is accumulated into fewer and fewer hands, and where the very notion of money making money is just universally accepted. No, all man-made conventions, all man-made systems, and like everyone before it, it will go away. I'm just trying to hasten that day. I just want to see it before I die. So this whole NFT story just really got me riled up again about this whole issue. You can't get something from nothing. In the great words of Billy Preston, nothing from nothing leaves nothing. You gotta have something if you want to be with me. And from the ancient philosophers to today's most advanced physicists, you can't get something from nothing, at least not on this plane. If you're talking theoretical physics, if you're talking Big Bang, if you're talking about origins of the universe, I don't know. That's over my head. If you're talking about unseeable quantum physics, yeah, maybe you can get something from nothing. I don't know. I'll leave that to those guys. I know in this world, when it comes to flesh and blood folks extracting wealth from this earth we walk on, for our purposes, I'm sticking to my guns. You can't get something from nothing. Interest is theft. Profit is theft. The entire world of collectibles, whether it's baseball cards, digital highlights, classic cars, rare coins, I don't care what you're collecting. Whatever you pocket is theft. Every profit made through investment is theft because that money came from somewhere. Something can't come from nothing. Something got to come from something, and that something is labor. So these various NFT stories that popped up over the weekend about non-fungible tokens really got me going. Now, there's one aspect to this story that slows me down a little bit. I'm not quite so sure of myself. And that is in the area of art and music. Because the model I've talked about and the model that Marx taught us about was that wealth is created through labor. a painter who sells his painting is not only covering their cost of paint and canvas. No, of course not. It's also the value of the artist's labor. And that's fine. That fits into Marx's model quite easily. The artist has created the product. It's more than the paint and the canvas. It's the labor. And beyond the labor, the unique talent, creativity, spirit, whatever you want to call it, that the artist is able to produce on canvas. I have no problem with this. Therefore, a digital artist selling his digital art using this NFT idea, this non-fungible token, I think I want to say that's all right. I've got to do some thinking about this one. A musician, and this has been a problem in the music industry and economics for quite a while now, for decades we're going on. As soon as music could be easily reproduced, I had my little cassette recorder as a kid. That cat was definitely let out of that bag. And then as music went digital, here again, millions of copies instantly. How in the world is there an economic model here? How in the world are musicians not going to be totally screwed? Well, the truth is they have been totally screwed. Except for the highest echelon of recording musicians, that economic model, the bottom just fell out over these last decades. That's why even the biggest acts in the world, you have to go on tour, you have to sell big stadiums, you have to have corporate sponsors, because the digital proliferation of the music itself through Spotify or whoever, just name the streamer, has completely upended the economic model of music. Now, I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. Once again, I'll bet you know more about this than I do. That's usually the case. So if this NFT model, if this non-fungible token can be a way for musicians to make a decent living, one they truly earned and deserve through their creations, if this can be a way for musicians to take back their rightful earnings through their legitimate work, yeah, this might be a thing. So I'm going to leave that open. I'm going to leave that possibility open. Yeah, maybe NFTs can work in the digital world. And if you think about it, if you extend that logic, now we're talking not only digital art and music, but anything and everything that can be digitized. And today, that is pretty much anything you can name. Both physical products, through design, 3D printing, etc., to non-physical items, like books. And I say that because certainly you think of a book, you think of a physical item, but what is a book without the ones and the zeros that type up the copy? Herman Melville may have written Moby Dick, but his novel, his story, is not the book itself. The book is just a conveyance. What you're purchasing is a sequence of letters and words and punctuation created in the mind of Herman Melville. Very much a digital product. The book itself, the pages, the binding, the cover, just a carrying case, if you will. And now, with our current technology, name anything. Name any product or service, and with a few exceptions, full body massage being one I can think of, live theater being another. I'm sure there are plenty more. But generally, products and services can now easily, readily be transferred via the digital realm. So maybe these NFTs are something for the future. Maybe they are. But in this first iteration, they've already been tainted because they've been introduced into a world, into a pre-existing economic system that not only allows but rewards appreciation, profit, the accumulation of wealth through scarcity. A system that not only allows all of this, but encourages it, allows theft, encourages theft. So the prime nature of these NFTs, the singular most defining characteristic of a non-fungible token, is that it is scarce. It's limited. Its ownership is carefully defined as private ownership. And these are the sins of our current system. These are the sins that have latched on to an otherwise maybe interesting innovation. I mean, if you haven't noticed already, this is basically, well, it's identical to the whole blockchain and cryptocurrency model. And I started the show by talking about my crisis of confidence, my inferiority complex, because I went back and then tried to do some reading on Bitcoin, on cryptocurrency, on the blockchain, and try to get a better understanding of how this works. Because over the years, for the life of me, I just haven't been able to wrap my head around it. So I looked up a couple of articles. I read, this is not sinking in. So I put in the search window, explain Bitcoin to me like I'm 5 years old. And not to my surprise, I expected it. A bunch of them came up. A bunch of search results came up. Explain Bitcoin like I'm 5. All right. Got lots of options. Click on the first one. Read the whole article. Okay. No, I'm still not getting it. Clicked on the next one. Same. Next one. Same. I went through a half a dozen articles, all with that literal headline. Explain this to me like I'm 5. And I still don't get it. I know that it's, I know that it eliminates banks. I know that all transactions are direct. Everybody's got the same information. If you buy something for 100 Bitcoins from Joe, you know it, Joe knows it, and everybody on the network knows it. So there's no cheating. Okay. We know that you can't sell the same item to Javier because Joe already owns it. And the unique feature of the Bitcoin, of the token, of the NFT, tells the system that, nope, Joe already owns that. You can't sell it to Javier, so there's no double dipping. All right, I kind of get that. But how it works, that's over my head. You still have to explain a blockchain to me. I still don't get how that works. You're probably laughing at me right now. I get it. Well, explain it to me like I'm 5. No, check that. Explain it to me like I'm 3. Because that was my next internet search. After I read a half a dozen articles, I typed in, explain Bitcoin to me like I'm 3. That didn't work. I got the same search results back. Explain it to me like I'm 5. But even though I don't really understand how this works, here's what I do understand. Here's where I'm confident. Okay? Here's where I'm confident. It's still money. It still maintains the most important central defining characteristics of money. I've got mine. You've got yours. People try to accumulate more of it. They can buy things with it. They can invest it. They can grow it. It still has those qualities, those defining qualities of money. And therefore, it has the central defining problem, the fatal flaw with money. People can make more and more and more of it without doing a damn thing. The original sin remains. Something from nothing. It's impossible. It's unnatural. And if you think you're achieving something from nothing, you're fooling yourself, and you're quite literally stealing from the labor of workers. One of the big selling points of cryptocurrency, maybe the biggest selling point, is the fact that it's peer-to-peer. It's direct. There's no middleman. There's no bank. There's no third party. Well, you know what? I mean, I hope it's clear to you by now. I don't think money should even exist in the world, but as long as there is money, I'm quite happy to have third parties. There has to be some entity that polices these transactions, because completely unfettered transactions would allow for all sorts of nefarious deeds. Gouging comes to mind. There are laws about such things. I've stated clearly that I think interest of any kind is abhorrent. But even in the money world, even people who disagree with me, and that's pretty much everybody, But even regular folks agree that enormously high interest rates have to be regulated. The so-called day lenders or cash lenders, doling out loans at 1,000% interest or more. And government regulators and agencies have to keep an eye on this, and banks are expected to play fair. So if there's going to be a money world, one that I'd like to eliminate entirely, but as long as we have a money world, I'm quite happy. Well, happy is not the right word. As long as we're in a money world, I think it's absolutely necessary to have government regulation, to have banks and savings and loans and intermediaries. The Wild West of cryptocurrency, sure, you might have big winners. In fact, you will have big winners. I'm quite sure of it, quite certain. But as little as I understand about cryptocurrency, this much I can tell you, this much I know. Anybody who tries to promote this or defend this as some kind of democratic way of moving money around, that it evens the playing field, there are built-in checks and balances just because everybody's in on the same information, no, I don't buy that for a second. So go ahead and contact me. Tell me why I'm wrong. I really want to know why you think I'm wrong on this one. charlesburcell@gmail.com. Or just charlesburcell.com. Lots of ways to contact me there. Tell me why I'm wrong. Explain cryptocurrency to me like I'm 3, not 5. We've already discovered that doesn't work. But here's what I want to hear from you. Tell me why cryptocurrency or NFTs or any other innovation, tell me how they're different in nature, not in the way they're distributed or exchanged. I'm not interested in how they move around. I'm talking about the very nature that they share with money as we all understand it. It represents value. It represents scarcity by definition. By definition. Now, the only way money has any value is the very fact that there's a limited amount. And for me, that central defining nature is the fatal flaw. It's the problem right from the outset. It means that there will never be equity. There will always be rich and poor. There's no way out. You might convince me that cryptocurrency, that Bitcoin and the others are more efficient, that the middlemen won't get their cut. That's the easy part. You could convince me of all of that. But here's what I'm asking you to defend. How is your system of money not identical to the traditional money system as I've described it? That it allows for accumulation of wealth, and it facilitates, in fact, by its very nature, in its essence, it depends on the exploitation of labor. Something from nothing. Convince me somehow that it solves the something from nothing dilemma, and you've got me. You've got a new convert. All right, there's your task. In the meantime, I'll keep trying to understand this better, I promise. I wish you health and wealth and prosperity to you and yours. I love you. I'm Charles Burcell.